Listen to me, your future is not waiting on luck. It's waiting on your mindset. You will never live above the level of your thoughts. If your mind is chaotic, your life will be chaotic. If your mind is wandering, your purpose will be wandering. But if you discipline your mind, if you train your thoughts, if you command your focus, you will shake the gates of success. The mind is a garden, and every day you're planting something. Are you planting fear or are you planting faith? Are you letting distractions take root or are you watering vision, purpose, and perseverance? You cannot afford to let just anything live in your mind. Your mind is the command center of your destiny. You must guard it, feed it, train it, discipline it. A successful life begins with a disciplined mind. Everything you will ever accomplish starts with the way you think. Before you see the evidence of success in your bank account, your relationships, your business, or your health, you will experience it first in your thoughts. The mind is the soil, and your thoughts are the seeds. If you plant laziness, negativity, excuses, and fear, you will harvest delay, confusion, and stagnation. But if you plant vision, faith, strategy, and consistency, you will begin to see the fruits of a successful life. Discipline doesn't begin in your hands, it begins in your head. The moment you decide to take control over your thoughts, you also begin to take control over your outcomes. A disciplined mind doesn't entertain every passing thought. It doesn't follow every emotional wave. It's not led by how things look temporarily, it's anchored by long-term clarity. A person with a disciplined mind doesn't get thrown off by failure or applause. They don't chase quick satisfaction or settle for surface-level validation. Their focus is deeper. Their roots are planted in purpose, not popularity. You can't live successfully on the outside if you're disorganized on the inside. That's why some people keep trying and trying, but nothing ever sticks. It's not that they don't have talent, it's that their mind isn't trained. Discipline is not just about what you do, it's about how you think. When your mind is undisciplined, it becomes vulnerable to every distraction, every temptation, every lie, and every fear that knocks on your door. You find yourself pulled in 1,000 directions, saying yes to things you should say no to, settling for less because you're afraid of losing more. You start to shrink your dreams to match your doubt instead of stretching your discipline to match your destiny. But when your mind is disciplined, you become selective with your time, your energy, your conversations, and your focus. You no longer entertain things that don't feed your future. You recognize that peace is more powerful than popularity. Silence becomes more attractive than attention. Focus becomes more important than fun. A disciplined mind doesn't avoid challenges, it prepares for them. It trains in private before it ever performs in public. It wakes up early when it wants to sleep. It studies when others scroll. It plans when others guess. It reflects when others react. The power of discipline in the mind is that it builds something in you that can't be seen by the crowd, but is felt in everything you touch. It makes you steady in storms, grounded in chaos, and consistent when everything around you is inconsistent. A disciplined mind knows how to pause before speaking, listen before reacting, and act when it's time to move, not just when it feels good to do so. Success doesn't just follow hustle, it follows alignment. And you can't be aligned when your mind is scattered. You can't build a strong future with weak thoughts. You can't lead others when your mind is led by fear. You can't grow into your calling when your mind is stuck in comparison. Every level you're trying to reach has a mental code you must unlock. That code is called discipline. You won't always feel like it. You won't always see the reward right away, but discipline teaches your mind to focus on the harvest, not just the hardship. It teaches your mind to look beyond emotion and lean into execution. It's the foundation that holds the weight of purpose. The more disciplined your mind becomes, the clearer your decisions, the stronger your resilience, and the faster you'll move in the direction of real success. What you allow to live in your thoughts will eventually shape your reality. Your life is not built simply by what happens to you, but by how you interpret and internalize what happens to you. Every single day, your mind is forming the blueprint for your future, moment by moment, thought by thought. You might not see it immediately, but what you dwell on consistently begins to carve out the direction of your actions, your emotions, your relationships, and your results. Thoughts are not just passing clouds in the sky of your mind. They are bricks being laid in the construction of your destiny. If you keep feeding your mind with fear, scarcity, and limitation, you will begin to see those patterns show up in every area of your life. When you constantly think you're not enough, you start acting like you're not enough. When you constantly rehearse the pain of the past, you start projecting that pain into your present. When you give space in your mind to doubt, failure, and frustration, your decisions start to mirror that internal noise. You stop trying, you hesitate, you self-sabotage. But when you train your mind to think on growth, possibilities, hope, and strategy, you begin to attract clarity and confidence. Your outer world always bows to the authority of your inner thoughts. That's why you must protect the gates of your mind with intensity. What you meditate on, you magnify. What you focus on, you feed. And what you feed eventually becomes the dominant force in your life. Some people are not stuck because of their circumstances. They are stuck because they've been rehearsing the wrong thoughts for too long. You cannot walk into a season of abundance while still holding a mindset of lack. You cannot step into a room of opportunity while carrying the voice of unworthiness in your head. Your thoughts are the internal dialogue of your life, and the more you let negative narratives dominate, the more you will find yourself living out those scripts. That's why your mind must become a place where only vision, truth, and faith are allowed to live. You have to do a mental inventory. Who or what is renting space in your head? What beliefs are sitting on the throne of your thought life? And are they building you or breaking you? Everything you are building starts with what you are believing. And belief is not just spiritual, it's mental. It shows up in the way you talk to yourself, in the decisions you make under pressure, in the moments you feel like quitting. Your thoughts are your first response before your feet ever move. That's why it's not enough to just have goals. You need the mental atmosphere that can support those goals. You need thoughts that align with where you're going, not where you've been. Because if you keep thinking like the old version of yourself, you must break the mental patterns that no longer serve you. Interrupt the cycle of defeat. Cancel the lies that you unknowingly adopted as truth, because those lies will grow, multiply, and eventually produce a harvest of stagnation if you don't uproot them. The power of your life is not just in your hands, it's in your head. It's in what you give attention to. It's in what you meditate on when nobody's watching. It's in the story you keep repeating to yourself, even in silence. If you keep feeding your thoughts with excuses, distractions, and fear, your life will begin to reflect that chaos. But if you start choosing thoughts of discipline, identity, focus, and hope, you will start walking into spaces you once only dreamed about. Because transformation begins in thought before it ever manifests in behavior. The mind is a mirror of the future. What you allow to live there will soon become what lives around you. You can't conquer the world if you haven't conquered your own thinking. Every victory you desire on the outside must first be won on the inside. Your thoughts are the generals leading the army of your actions. Before you can build anything great, before you can lead, before you can rise, you must get control over the battlefield of your mind. The war is not out there, it's in here. It's in the doubts you entertain, the fears you feed, the voices you believe when no one is around. You can't take over a company, a calling, or a cause if you haven't first taken over the chaos within your own thoughts. The mind left untrained is like a city without walls, vulnerable, exposed, and easily overrun by anything that passes by. There are people with incredible gifts, amazing opportunities, and powerful resources, yet they live stuck, not because of the environment they are in, but because of the environment inside their own head. When your mind is undisciplined, your potential gets buried under layers of confusion, hesitation, and fear. You can know what to do and still not do it if your thoughts are not aligned with your purpose. You can dream big and still stay small if your thoughts keep dragging you back into self-doubt and insecurity. That's why mental mastery is the foundation of real success. It's not about controlling every circle. It's not about how loud life gets around you. It's about how calm and focused you remain within. Conquering your thinking means being intentional about what you allow to repeat in your mind. Some people are repeating cycles, not because they lack opportunity, but because they've never interrupted the internal script. If you wake up every day thinking you're behind, that you're not enough, that you missed your moment, you will keep showing up as a lesser version of who you really are. The mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's repeated. If you keep repeating failure, regret, and fear in your mind, your reality will begin to follow that script. But if you take charge of your thoughts, if you start feeding your mind with truth, vision, and identity, you start walking in power even before anything changes externally. Mastering your mind doesn't mean you'll never have a negative thought. It means you won't be ruled by one. It means you know how to recognize when a thought is trying to shrink your potential and you speak against it with conviction. You train your mind to filter every thought. Does this serve my future? Does this align with who I'm becoming? Does this thought empower me to act, or does it paralyze me with fear? When your thinking becomes strategic, your life becomes intentional. You begin to shift from reacting. You stop letting circumstances dictate your mindset, and you start letting your mindset shape your response to every circumstance. Conquering your thinking also means creating patterns that support your purpose. It means protecting your peace, limiting your distractions, and surrounding yourself with what elevates your mind. You don't allow gossip, comparison, or clutter to occupy your headspace. You focus like a laser because you know your mental energy is sacred. You guard your mornings. You control your input. You prioritize reflection. You create boundaries not just in relationships but in thoughts. You don't let just anything walk into your mental house. You treat your thoughts like royalty because you understand your future depends on the quality of your thinking. You can't build a kingdom if your mind is still wrestling with chaos. You can't walk in authority if your thoughts are constantly in confusion. You can't lead others to breakthrough when you're still battling the same inner demons in silence. Before you take the next step outward, take the next step inward. Because every outward conquest is just a reflection of an inner victory that already happened in the silence of your own thoughts. A disciplined mind is not built in comfort, it is forged in resistance. Just like muscles grow when they are challenged by weight, your mental strength grows when it is challenged by discomfort, by setbacks, by moments when giving up seems easier. The process of mastering your mind is not passive. It's a deliberate act of pushing through what your feelings want and choosing instead what your future needs. Discipline is not born out of inspiration. It is born out of consistency. It's not about waiting for the right moment, the perfect environment, or the ideal motivation. It's about doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. Because success does not bow to emotions. It bows to decisions. Most people want the reward without the resistance. They want the glory without the grind. They pray for growth but avoid the pressure that produces it. But mental discipline is about leaning into the challenge instead of running from it. It's about waking up early when your body begs to stay in bed. It's about choosing to focus when every distraction is fighting for your attention. It's about sticking to the plan when the progress seems invisible. This is where real transformation begins, not in moments of hype, but in the quiet, unseen decisions that no one claps for. Discipline is developed in those moments when nobody is watching, but everything is at stake. It's in those moments that you either create habits that shape your destiny or fall into patterns that delay it. A disciplined mind doesn't negotiate with excuses. It doesn't wait to feel ready. It doesn't let the mood dictate the mission. It shows up, rain or shine. It pushes through fatigue, through failure, through the voices that whisper, "You're not good enough," because the disciplined mind understands that progress is rarely loud. It understands that real growth is often boring, repetitive, and uncelebrated. But it stays committed because it sees beyond the moment. It sees the vision. It sees the bigger picture. It recognizes that everything you want is on the other side of what you're unwilling to do. And so it trains, it sharpens, it repeats, it endures. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Mental discipline is not about perfection, it's about consistency. You will have off days. You will feel weak. You will question the process. But the disciplined mind doesn't camp out in doubt. It recalibrates, it learns, it gets back up. Because failure is not the enemy, quitting is. And you can't afford to quit on yourself just because the path gets hard. That pressure you're feeling, that resistance, that's the weight room for your mind. That's where your resilience is built. That's where your future self is being sculpted. And every time you push through, when you feel like quitting, you are building mental armor that will carry you through greater battles ahead. Discipline in the mind means creating systems that lead you to success even when your feelings are in conflict. It's building habits that guide you when motivation fades. It's telling yourself the truth when your emotions lie. It's learning how to be your own coach, your own motivator, your own accountability. Nobody is coming to save you from the hard work of growth. You must show up for yourself. You must lead your own mind. Because if you don't take control, something else will. Procrastination, fear, doubt, distraction. But when you discipline your thoughts, you take the driver's seat. You stop living by reaction and start living by intention. You stop getting pushed around by every storm and you start commanding your direction. You realize that success is not a moment, it's a mindset, and that mindset is formed by the daily grind of doing the hard things when they're needed, not when they're easy. Success is not just about the goals you set, it's about the habits you build. You can dream all day, speak affirmations every morning, and envision the future you desire. But if your daily habits don't match your declarations, your life will remain stuck between intention and execution. The disciplined mind understands that what you do consistently carries more weight than what you do occasionally. A person who wins in life is not someone who occasionally gets inspired. It's someone who builds habits that carry them through when inspiration is nowhere to be found. Discipline isn't built on how loud you shout your dreams. It's built on how quietly you show up when nobody's watching. It's about forming routines that pull you closer to your purpose every single day. The mind craves patterns. It learns through repetition. And whatever you repeat becomes your identity. So when your habits are inconsistent, so is your progress. But when you start aligning your daily actions with your highest priorities, something begins to shift. You stop depending on willpower and start depending on structure, because habits are stronger than moods. And in the moments when you feel like giving up, it's your structure that keeps you going. It's not enough to want success. You have to prepare for it. You have to make room for it in your daily life. You have to organize your time like it matters. You have to guard your energy like it's sacred. You have to say no to the things that pull you away from your focus, even if they feel good in the moment. A disciplined mind doesn't rely on motivation. It relies on systems. Systems that remind you of who you are. Systems that eliminate decision fatigue and help you prioritize what really matters. When your habits support your vision, you don't have to second-guess your next move. You just execute. You get up and move forward not because it's convenient, but because you've made it automatic. And over time, those automatic actions become the foundation of a new life. The small disciplines, the early mornings, the focused hours, the commitment to growth begin to stack. They begin to create momentum, and what once felt like a struggle now becomes your standard. You become the kind of person who doesn't just set goals, but meets them. The kind of person who doesn't just talk about discipline, but lives it. Habits are your daily vote for the person you want to become. Every time you make a disciplined choice, you are reinforcing the identity of someone who is focused, determined, and unshakable. And every time you compromise, you are casting a vote for the version of yourself that you're trying to outgrow. That's why you must be intentional. That's why you must not treat your habits like suggestions. You can't afford to be casual with your process and expect to have a life of excellence. Excellence is not an accident. It is the result of high-level habits executed with consistency over time. You can't live a powerful life if your daily choices are weak. You can't step into greatness if your routines are rooted in mediocrity. To build a disciplined mind, you must track your habits, you must review your routines, you must get honest about what's working and what's holding you back. It's not about being perfect, it's about being aware. You can't fix what you won't face, and sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is organize your life. Remove the clutter, cut the distractions, eliminate the habits that drain your potential. Replace them with habits that restore your energy, elevate your mindset, and push you toward your purpose. Whether it's journaling, reading, exercising, planning your day, or unplugging from noise, every powerful habit you adopt becomes another brick in the house of your success. Even when life gets chaotic, your habits can keep you grounded. When emotions rise, your habits remind you who you are. When discouragement knocks, your habits protect your progress. They become the net that catches you when life tries to knock you off course. Because discipline is not just about starting strong, it's about finishing well. And the only way to finish well is to show up daily, whether you feel like it or not. It's about making decisions that serve your destiny, not just your comfort. It's about living on purpose and doing the hard things, especially when they're the right things. Your future is hidden in your habits. What you repeat, you become, and if you want to change your life, you don't start with the dream, you start with the discipline. You wake up every day and ask yourself, are my habits feeding my vision or fighting it? Because every choice counts, every repetition matters. Every act of discipline today is a seed planted for the harvest you will reap tomorrow. And if you stay faithful to the process, if you stay committed to building habits that elevate you, your life will begin to align with the success you've been praying for, not by chance, not by accident, but by daily decisions that train your mind to expect more, do more, and become more. What you feed your mind will eventually shape your life. The disciplined mind is not just built on action, it is nourished by input. Whatever you allow into your mental space, what you watch, what you read, what you listen to, who you surround yourself with, becomes the foundation of your thoughts, and your thoughts become the blueprint for your behavior. You cannot grow a powerful, focused, and purpose-driven mind if you keep planting seeds of fear, doubt, laziness, and distraction. If you want success to grow in your life, then you must guard your mind like a garden. Pulling out the weeds and protecting the soil, you must be intentional about what you allow to enter, because what enters stays and what stays shapes. Too many people want to walk in power while feeding on poison. They want to think strong while constantly consuming content that weakens them. They say they want clarity, yet they fill their days with noise. They say they want purpose, but they entertain distractions all day long. The disciplined mind doesn't indulge in every conversation, every video, every trend. It filters, it discerns, it selects. Because it understands that success starts in the mind, and the mind is shaped by repetition. You cannot think higher if you constantly feed yourself lower. You cannot rise mentally if your input pulls you into negativity, fear, gossip, and confusion. You must treat your mind like a sacred space, not a dumping ground. When you choose to feed your mind with wisdom, growth, vision, and positivity, you begin to shift your internal reality. You begin to rise above the chaos around you because the foundation within you is strong. When the world is anxious, you are calm. When the world is distracted, you are focused. When the world is reactive, you are steady. Not because life is perfect, but because your mind is prepared. You are not reacting randomly, you are responding intentionally. And that comes from what you have been feeding yourself over time. Is not a one-time choice. It's a lifestyle. You don't eat one healthy meal and expect transformation. You eat right consistently, and over time the results become visible. The same goes for your mind. You must be ruthless about what you allow to occupy your attention. You must cut off toxic conversations that drain your energy. You must walk away from environments that keep you small. You must limit your exposure to media that feeds fear and confusion. Instead, you must pursue books, messages, voices, and content that uplift, sharpen, and expand you. You must surround yourself with people who speak life, who challenge you, who don't let you settle in comfort, because what you feed grows, and what you starve dies. Starve the distractions, starve the fear, starve the negativity, feed your faith, feed your discipline, feed your purpose. This is the work of a focused and determined mind. The disciplined mind knows that even a few moments of the wrong input can plant a seed of doubt that derails an entire day. That's why it refuses to wake up and scroll aimlessly. That's why it refuses to entertain every opinion. That's why it doesn't live in reaction mode but sets the tone early, choosing first thing in the morning what it wants to feel, think, and believe. If you want peace, you must feed. If you want vision, you must feed vision. If you want resilience, you must feed your soul with stories of overcoming, of triumph, of perseverance. If you want clarity, you must shut down the noise and create space for stillness. Feeding your mind is not just about consumption, it's about alignment. Alignment with your goals, alignment with your values, alignment with your higher calling. Your environment is feeding you even when you're not paying attention. That's why you must build a mental diet that matches the life you want. You cannot afford to be careless with your focus. Every video, every conversation, every article, every song, it's either building you or breaking you. It's either pushing you forward or pulling you backward. And it's not just about avoiding bad input. It's about replacing it with what is good, what is true, what is strong. A disciplined mind is not empty. It's full of the right things. It's full of conviction. It's full of knowledge. It's full of purpose. It's not distracted by everything because it is dedicated to something greater. You can't expect your life to go higher if your thinking stays low. If you want to climb, you have to change what's fueling you. You have to train your mind like an athlete trains their body, intentionally, consistently, and strategically. Every time you feed your mind the right fuel, you are sharpening your focus. You are preparing your responses. You are creating a mindset that can withstand pressure and keep moving forward. It's not about being perfect. It's about being aware. Being conscious of what is shaping you every day, being mindful of how you start your day, what you meditate on, who you give access to your thoughts, because the world will always offer distractions, but you have the power to choose discipline. You have the authority to decide what enters your mind, what stays, and what must be removed. You hold the keys to what your mind becomes, and what your mind becomes determines the life you ultimately create. If you truly want success, you must train your mind to obey purpose over pleasure. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're called to be. It's not just about big decisions, it's about the small choices you make daily that either push you forward or pull you. When your mind is disciplined, your life becomes aligned. You stop living by emotion and start living by intention. You stop reacting and start responding with wisdom. You stop chasing quick fixes and start building lasting foundations. So guard your thoughts, shape your habits, and feed your focus. Because a disciplined mind doesn't just dream about success, it creates it, lives it, and inspires others to do the same.